So, Josh, welcome to Disabled and Proud. How are you?
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm looking forward to this chat because I think you're going to have a really interesting spin on the questions that I'm going to ask. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
So, the first question that I ask every single guest, and I'll tell you why I ask it, is because I personally believe that everybody refers to their own disability very individually, is how do you refer to your disability?
Very complex. So with mine, I'm a C6, C7, in the fracture and compression. But I have diagnosed paralysis from T8.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's a bit crazy. It's a bit of a weird one because obviously I'm a neck break, but everything that's affected is from like just below my chest. So it is a bit of a weird one. Um, so I'm able to kind of like stand up, do bits of walking, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, sensations all over the place sometimes. And my legs are like all over the place as well. So some days I can wake up and I can be absolutely great. I can do a lot more on my feet. But then other days like I can't do anything. So I'm in my chair and stuff like that. I get quite a bit of hip pain, also pain in my knees as well. So that can like put me in my chair like for some days. But um, yeah, it's just a spinal cord injury. It's just a bit of a mad one, really.
And what's interesting for you is that you said that you had like a neck break, but it's below your chest. That's where like your, I don't want to say issues because it's not really issues, but like
Yeah,
if we're going to be medical, that's
yeah,
where it all that's where it all kind of stems from. And that's
yeah.
not usual, is it, for like spinal cord injury, or is it? Like I don't know, you tell me.
To be honest, I have absolutely no idea myself. I mean, I just find everything about spinal cord injuries just almost like fascinating in a way.
Yeah.
Um, just because anybody who has a spinal injuries, it can just be so different.
Yeah.
Even though it's the same, it could be the same level. It can just be so different, and it can be affected in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Um, and just how I mean, I found quite fascinating how my body recovered,
Yeah.
to the extent it did, and how it taught itself to move like muscles and reconnect like connections from your brains and all sorts of different things to different muscles, and how they adapt to working when other muscle groups aren't working as well.
Yeah.
But then also like spasms, again, they're just something that's just like it's just strange and like it is a bit mind boggling in a way. But um, yeah, it's just an absolute minefield as to like what your outcome could be.
Yeah, because like it's like as I said, like disability is completely individual to the individual person. So like on paper you
Yeah,
can have the same diagnosis, disability, whatever, but how you relate to it and how it affects you is it's so different for everyone. And I think that's just like a really important point. And I bring it up all the time because I think it is a really important like thing that people need to be aware of, that disability is
yeah,
actually a massive umbrella term. It's not pinpointing any specific, problems or issues or disabilities in itself. And for you, obviously,
no,
you
for sure.
acquired your disability. And if you don't mind me asking, how did that happen?
So back in 2014, it feels like forever now. Um, I dived into a swimming pool whilst I was on holiday
Yeah.
in Ibiza with some friends, and I hit the bottom. It was only off the side of the pool, so it wasn't doing anything stupid or any great height. And yeah, I hit my head on the bottom. I remember I felt it, but it didn't hurt. And I played rugby for years. I've hit my head and hurt my neck worse playing rugby than I did hitting my head on the
Yeah.
pool and breaking my neck. Um, so it was just yeah, it was just a massive shock. So I hit my head on the bottom, and I knew where the ladders were on the other side of the pool. So hit my head on the bottom, just carried on swimming as normal.
Yeah.
Carried on swimming as normal. Didn't really feel anything different within like movement within my legs or anything.
Yeah.
Got to the ladders and kind of like pulled myself up, and then tried to put my feet on the steps, and I just couldn't do it. and a few of my friends were on the side of the pool, and I said to them, I was like, lads, I can't move my legs, and they were like, no. They obviously said it. They said
Yeah.
it in a little. They like told me to get
Pull your
out.
socks up.
Yeah. And I was like, no, honestly, like I can't move my legs. I think I remember just holding on to ladders for like 5 minutes, and we just started chatting. And then eventually I was like, lad, you really need to get me out now. So they did, and one of them literally just shone an iPhone torch into my eye.
Yeah.
I could see them. They were a doctor, and they could see that my pupils were irregular. So then it was like one of them, yeah, it was mental, and then just like held my head in that position and called an ambulance. Like I was told not to move me or anything. And yeah, that's where kind of like my journey began. From there, so I was transported to a private hospital in Ibiza. Private hospital sounds nice, but according to one of my best mates, it was not nice. So then, but then, yeah, they knew how serious it was, and they like did everything that they could, and I was then airlifted to Mallorca,
Yeah.
to Son Espas University Hospital, which was absolutely fantastic. And yeah, had my surgery there and everything like that, and did a great job. And then I was there for 2.5 weeks, and then flown back to the UK, to Preston, there for a few weeks, just kind of like getting in a stable condition. And then I think my surgery had to like be checked out by another surgeon in the UK just to make sure it was kind of okay.
Yeah.
If it didn't need, hopefully didn't need redoing. Fortunately, the guy said it was one of the best he'd seen. So,
Well, that's good.
yeah, I mean, the last thing I wanted to do was for them to then open me up again and
Yeah. Start
mess
from.
around with my neck again. Exactly, yeah. So, and then rehab, it was just rehab then, wasn't it? Back to, I went to Southport spinal unit,
Yeah.
and I was there until I got discharged that December. So
And how old are you at this point?
I was 20, just turned 20, maybe a month or two before. So
How,
yeah, I'd had my I'd had my life planned out from like year 11, knowing what I wanted to do. Did everything like GCSEs, A levels, all kind of like leading up to getting a certain, like applying for a certain degree course, and then being able to then hopefully complete that and then go to getting to do the job that I wanted to do. But that was all like, yeah, out of the window to an extent. But then I just never followed through with doing it after that.
And that's what I was gonna then like lead on to ask you is at that age, like it's like, formative years, I always think are like from 14 to 24, because they're the years that you discover a bit more about yourself. You probably go to uni or like you finish school and you kind of decide kind of what you want to do, even if like 10 years later it completely changes. And at that age, it's so formative.
Yeah.
How did that change your career path and the path that you went down and to what you're doing now? How was that journey and what did it look like?
I mean, it's changed my career path. Like it's completely
Yeah.
opposite. It almost changed my outlook on life to an extent. I was very much back then. I was very much driven by living like a luxury life, trying to have like earn loads of money, like nice cars, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of like all I was driven by. I mean, obviously, people can be driven by whatever they want to be driven by. If that's what you want to be, if that's what makes you get up every day, then fair play to you. But for me, it completely flipped, and it was almost like, cause I knew after. I mean, I only found out a few years ago, but my mum was like, they didn't really know if like what my chances of survival was, just because of like I caught pneumonia and stuff quite badly in hospital.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I didn't realize this until a few years ago. But it's just like a massive shock, and you kind of realize that. Well, I realized that life isn't all about just going out to earn a load of money, and yeah. So I was just like, I want to live my life. I want to experience things. I want to wake up every day and absolutely love what I do. Although I know I probably would have woken up and loved what I've done if I didn't have my accident and did all my
Yeah.
degree course, because that's what I just would have I wanted to do. So, but yeah, so now I'm a full-time athlete instead of sitting behind a desk.
Well, I personally think there are many
But
positives to that.
it's yeah, but I mean, I'm so grateful for like what I've been able to do and what I'm able to do now, and travel the world to go to some amazing places to race, and have some amazing people supporting me along the journey as well. Friends, family, like sponsors, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'm very grateful for what I'm able to do now.
Yeah. And what is like your sport as such?
Triathlon, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Well, it is triathlon. So we swim as normal.
Mhm.
Um, and in my category, some people, well, if you can use your legs, people can all like use your legs, but it can be like quite limited. Some
Uh,
people don't have legs. Obviously, a lot of people can't use the legs because generally, wheelchair category is your spinal injuries,
yeah.
high leg amputees, and stuff. So, um, probably a few more different disabilities in there as well.
Mm.
But then we use a hand cycle. So we're led on our backs,
Uh-huh.
recumbent, and just arms, and then straight into a racing wheelchair for 5 kilometers
Wow. That's
after it. So yeah, it can be pretty. It's pretty tough on when you're just using like small muscle, like not as muscle, well, smaller muscle groups than you would do generally doing triathlon. So, but we adapt.
yeah, that is for sure.
We
And
adapt.
how did you
So.
get involved in that? Because it's like I'm always interested in to hear, particularly with adaptive sports and para sports, is how do people get involved in that? Because I know that when I was looking at adaptive sports, I literally just Googled it and then kind of stumbled across some people. So how was that journey for you?
Um, it's been a bit like all over the place to an extent. I mean, I remember sitting in hospital, just got a new computer, and I was just like thinking, right now, I want Paralympics. I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. I'd love to be able to like adapt myself into like the best peak condition as an athlete and be able to like go to the Paralympics. So I'd almost like set myself that was a target I wanted to reach. So I just remember like I used to ski loads
Yeah.
from a young age, family holidays. So then I just started, and I'd seen like a few sit skiers out when I'd just been skiing on general holidays before I'd even had my accident. So
Yeah.
I'd always thought, well, like, what is that thing? That looks pretty cool. Um, so then obviously it was like, this is how I'm gonna have to ski now.
Yeah.
So I started like YouTube on YouTube, like Googling videos of the Paralympics and sit skiing and all this kind of stuff, and then found a video of some Canadian guy who was like doing backflips on them and all sorts of different things.
Uh-huh.
And so that really gave me some drive to start skiing. So as
Uh-huh.
soon as I came out of hospital, I started skiing. And then I went to the Chill Factor, and then from there I started to go into Chill Factor for a little bit, and then from there I started to join like the British like para snow sports
Uh-huh.
squad. Um, did a few international races. I won the British Championships one year. Um, and then to become a bit more competitive, especially with all the guys that live on the mountain from other nations and stuff. I mean, it started to cost like quite a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and there just wasn't like the backing and the funding, and I certainly don't have an endless bank account, which is a shame. So if I
Yeah.
did, that's what I'd probably be doing. Um, so yeah, I mean that just started to become difficult, and especially like living in the north of England, there's a few hills in the Lake District, but there's nothing crazy that's got a decent ski resort on it.
Yeah.
Um, so it was, yeah, it just started to become difficult, and I just wanted to do something that I could get out, literally just hop out my front door and just go out and train.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then even before like I'd even thought about doing triathlon, I started to just do. I just started to kind of like raise money for a local foundation to me that have supported me for a long time and they still support me now. Called Ben Trend Get Involved. And I just wanted to, yeah, like I said, I wanted to raise some money for them. So I did a Tough Mudder, which you've probably seen, maybe. And then I did like quite a few like half marathons, 5Ks, 10Ks. And then I found this triathlon on just on the internet, and it was the superhero series. I don't know, have you seen that before?
No, tell me all
You've not
about
seen
it.
that one. So basically, superhero series it's a day at Eton, Dorney Lake in Eton. I think they do have a like an able-bodied side of it and all that kind of stuff that you can enter, but it is just like focused around like almost celebrating disability, and
Yeah.
triathlon is the sport that everybody goes for. You don't have to do the whole thing yourself. You can do like a relay, so you do one bit, somebody else does another bit, somebody else does another bit. And they get involved all these other Paralympic athletes, champions, and stuff like that. And you can be part of their team and everything, and meet these people because they can be so inspirational for some people. Whether
Yeah.
they're like new to it, new to an injury, or they were born with it, or something like that, or even if like they don't want to be the Paralympian, because obviously not everybody that's got a disability wants to be a Paralympian.
Yeah.
That's not everybody. Like everybody, I feel like everybody that you meet is, and you're in a chair, and everybody goes, "Oh, so or you've got some form of disability." It's like, so you're a Paralympian. Do you do the Paralympics and stuff
All
like
of
that?
the time. All the
But
time.
so so but even just you go there and you do it, and these Paralympians can be so like I said, can be so inspirational to people.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great place for people to just get some motivation as well. And it opens their eyes to like different sports, and you don't have to go in and do triathlon. You might just want to start going and do para swimming or hand cycling or something like that, or racing wheelchair rate and stuff. So I went there with my best friend and my dad. And I had no equipment apart from a wetsuit. So I signed up, obviously, maybe big, not, I don't know how to say it, but I was just like, no, I want to do the big one. I don't want to do the small one. I want to do the big one.
You're gonna do the one
So
that looks
we,
like it's gonna be the worst.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But at the time when I'm signing up to it, it doesn't look the worst. It just looks the best because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I just had my wetsuit, swam, and I've done bits of swimming before, but never really kind of like anything to really train for. And then the bike and like the run section, I just did in my day chair, just pushed it in my day chair.
How was
I
that?
don't know,
It's different, isn't it?
slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very slow. But it was great fun, and I almost think just kind of like how hard I found it and stuff like that, and going from one discipline into the other, although I didn't have like the equipment for it, just made me kind of want to find out about the sport a little bit more. So I emailed British Triathlon when I got home, asking if they knew of any clubs locally where I could go and get involved. And then from that, I was then invited down to a talent ID weekend at Loughborough. First time I'd ever really kind of done any sort form of like time trial swimming in a swimming pool. First time I'd ever been on a hand bike, and first time I'd ever been in a racing wheelchair. And they put me through all like different tests doing it as well. So it was a very interesting day, and it was a fun day, and it was a day that kind of like led me to where I am now. And they wanted to kind of like take me under their wing and stuff like that. And here I am now. Here I am today.
It's almost serendipitous when these things work out like that, isn't it? Because you go to an event and you're like, oh, I quite enjoyed it, and you just want to feel around a bit more, figure out if you can, if it's even foreseeable. That's not the word I was looking for, but it's one that's come out of my mouth. And then you end up going to an event where you end up in time trials, and like that's led you to where you are now. And
Yeah.
None of that would have happened had you not been like, been swimming and took a dive and accidentally hit your head. Like none of
No.
it happened. And it is crazy to think
No.
like that.
I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened since my accident that I would just never have done
Yeah,
in like my life prior to my accident, and like, I would never have met Sophie, who I'm marrying next year, stuff like that,
amazing.
and like just so many different things that I've experienced that I would never have done, and like one door shut, but so many other doors opened at the same time. But I mean, I think that happens to everybody that suffers an injury of
Mhm.
whatever form that is. And I think it can be down. You can have a lot of different things that can push you in so many different ways and directions. But like at the end of the day, I think to me, this is my opinion. To me, it's like down to yourself. You've got to almost like, and I had to do it to me. I had to kick myself up the arse, and I had a great like support network that helped massively. But you just got to kind of crack on, and you got to deal with it, and you've just got to make the most of like what you can do at the moment. And yeah,
It's very that's it. It's very it's a sentiment that is very widely accepted between people, I think, who acquire a disability. And the
yeah,
reason I say this, and I feel like I can say this, is because I've had so many of these conversations. And in particular, one springs to mind with Dan Richards. I don't know if you know him. He's the one-armed cycler.
no, no,
His
I don't.
story is unlike his story is next level. But he also pretty much said the exact same thing, that for him, it was a case of I either move on or I sink. And I don't want to sink. I want to swim.
Yeah,
I want to push myself forward and see what I can do now that things have changed. So here we are, and let's see what we can do,
mm.
which I think is a sentiment that sometimes can be quite hard to digest for a lot of people, because I hate to say it, and I'll probably get a lot of not very nice comments for saying this, but there can be a lot of self-pity and ability. And it does take you
Oh yeah,
almost
I
pull
agree.
yourself up by your bootstraps and just get on with it, because this is what you've been dealt with, and like sink or
Yeah,
swim. And I implore you all
I
to swim,
know.
because it's fun.
No, yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. Um, completely agree with you. Yeah.
It's an interesting one, because I don't want to sound like I'm being harsh or callous, but it is true. But then in saying that, I'm aware that disability is not easy. It's not easy at all. Like the disabled life is not
Oh
necessarily
no, I mean,
one at all. But like it's what you've
no,
been
it's
given. So
not. Yeah, and yeah, I don't know what I was going to say then.
it's always the way when you think you've got something really good in your head, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh, it's just not quite come out my mouth.
no, it's gone. No, it's gone. It's gone.
So what I was going to go on to ask you is that I personally believe that through any form of hardship, regardless of what it is that if you can look back at that time and find a positive attribute in yourself, it's probably been worthwhile to a certain degree. And I was wondering if, upon reflection and looking back through some of your hardships or your times that you found difficult, if you found a positive attribute within yourself.
Um, yeah, I think I did. I think I did. No, I definitely did. I feel like it was obviously such a massive change to me now. Like I was quite. I mean, I was very active as a child and all the way through until my accident, sport wise and stuff like that. So it's almost it's almost like knowing that I knew that I would never be able to go and like run around a rugby pitch or five-side football pitch with my friends, go for a kickabout, just hop up my front door and go for a run or something like that. And I still sometimes say it now to Sophie, like sometimes, like if we just go on holiday, I can't just pack my racing wheelchair and go for a push,
Yeah.
really. And I sometimes always say to myself, oh, I just miss like being able to go out for a run and stuff. But then I almost kind of think my mind switches and I'm like, yeah, but look what I can do. Look what I am doing. Look what I can do. And going out for a run is for me now is like such a small thing that really doesn't really massively bother me to an extent.
Mhm.
But it's always in like the back of my mind. I sometimes think, oh, I'd love to just go for a run along there,
Yeah.
something like that. So I'm almost kind of able to kind of feel like I'm good with being able to cope with things that I think I miss, but I don't.
Yeah, it's almost like redirecting or reframing how you view things from something, like you said, was saying like, oh, you think about going for a run, but actually when you look at that, number one, running isn't fun for anyone. And number two, like you're
Yeah.
able to do so many other different things now that actually that run seems quite menial.
Yeah, and number three, when I'm in my racing wheelchair, I can go a hell of a lot faster than I could before when I was running.
Well, exactly. And isn't that like better? I was wondering, so this question is kind of twofold, and I really need to figure out how to word it better because every time I
Yeah.
it never comes out quite as I want it to, but you'll get the gist. Do you have a piece of advice for your younger self and for a younger person with the same disability as you or going through the same disability as you?
For my younger self, that's the one that I think I'd struggle with,
Yeah.
trying to find an answer for that.
It's a hard one because
But
I was recently asked it and I was like, have fun.
I mean, I had fun, so I can't say that. I don't really know about that for my younger self, to be honest. But for somebody who's younger than me with a disability, um, I think like I always say, and I always have done since I've had my accident, is um, take all the opportunities that you're offered because you never know where it'll take you or who you might meet,
Uh-huh.
um, or where it might take you. I've already said where it might take you.
Do you know? I don't know. I promise I was listening,
Um,
but that it sounds about right.
yeah. So, I mean, just take all the opportunities that you're offered just because I've experienced so many things by opportunities. What I'm doing now is just by like an opportunity that was offered to me. I didn't have to go to Loughborough to do a talent ID weekend to
Yeah.
trial out to become a triathlete, but I did do. I got an opportunity to work at Williams F1 for a year, I think, or 6 months.
Oh, amazing.
And I'm a mad F1 fan, so that was like a mate. That was I don't even know how to describe it. It was
Yeah.
incredible. And like then doing my Tough Mudder, that opened up so many doors to me and so many things that just people from where I'm from, Not End in like the north of England, just don't do.
Yeah.
Um, and not many people will get to experience what I was able to experience off the back of that as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think just taking the opportunities that you're offered, and especially like when you're so young, you've got so much ahead of you. There's so many different things that you need to experience before you really settle down and
Yeah.
focus on one thing. And um, yeah, that's pretty much what I would say.
I think that's a great piece of advice, especially what you just said there about being young and trying loads of different things on, because I think people almost get too focused too early. Because I know that what I want
Yeah,
to do now and what I do now is absolutely nothing like what I thought I was going to be doing when I was like 18, 19. Like if you told me at 18, 19, I'd be talking to other disabled people about their lives and their experiences, I'd probably be like, yeah, no, that sounds like interesting, but I don't know if that's what I want to do.
yeah.
And now it's completely different, and it's the only thing that I ever want to do, and I think it's the most interesting thing in the world, which is why I do it. But I think that's a really solid piece of advice, and I really like it, actually. Really like that piece of advice.
Thank you.
So, as disabled people, we all know that we get asked weird and wonderful questions on the daily basis by random people. And so I'll preface this by saying I was recently asked whilst I was out at dinner if the waiter would like me to cut up my food for me.
Oh right.
Interesting, right? And I was wondering, do you have any questions that that you find annoying or intrusive or like funny that actually if you just did like you just have to laugh at? Do you have any questions that you get asked regularly?
So this is the one that really annoys me, and I can imagine it can annoy a lot of, especially chair users that might be might be in a couple, or I mean, you don't even have to be. But it's not really a question; it's more of a saying, and it makes me laugh, but it's also really annoying that whenever you're just pushing through the street, you're pushing through the street together, or like through an airport or wherever you are, you're just pushing you're in public. And you always get some people that go, "Oh, are you two racing? Who's winning? Oh, slow down." Or like when you go out drinking or something like that. Can you drink and drive in that? Oh, it really winds me up. But it also makes me laugh at the same time. And now when I'm talking about it, it makes me laugh. But at the time, it is really, really annoying.
It's really funny that you say this because you're not the first wheelchair user that has said those words.
Oh,
And it's so commonplace for wheelchair users. But I think people just like, they just think they're being really funny when actually it's like it's not that funny. You've heard it 100 times before.
No.
Like
what do we say to people walking on the street? Oh, are you having a walking race? What's the difference?
exactly right. Like, what is the difference between someone asking you that and then you going up to someone and be like, "Oh, so who's winning out of the two of you?"
Yeah, power walk race, is it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's I always laugh because I think like I don't understand who thinks that they could go up to someone and ask these questions. But then in saying that, I probably have been a person that's gone up to someone and been like, "Oh, by the way, are you doing this?" And not out of like being ignorant, just because I'm really curious all the time.
Yeah.
I have one final question for you, and that is, are you disabled and proud?
I am, yes. I wouldn't really want to I wouldn't want to turn back the clocks and avoid having my accident. You know, if you could, I'm so happy. I'm absolutely loving my life at the moment, and there's probably still so much more that I'm yet to experience and stuff like that, which I'm so excited about. So, yeah, I'm definitely disabled and proud.
Well, thank you very much for giving up your time today. I really appreciated it, and I've loved listening to your story. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
No, pleasure. Thanks for having me.